heard it from you, and I set the mood. You feel it too, baby. Seen you moving and alright. Saw it in the news. You move so smooth. Show me what you can do. Well, I need some proof. Where can we go when no one is around? You're so special, I need you to myself. Can't dance with no one else, baby. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I set the mood. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I set the mood. Sages, yeah, babe, let's cut through the chase. Pick up the pace, I know you want it right. Written all over your face. I don't know if I've been doing it right. Just know that's the end of the night, and this is precious time we're wasting. Let's get to the good vibration. Where can we go when no one is around? You're so special, I need you to myself. I can't dance with no one else, baby. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I set the mood. Yeah, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I set the mood. Bridge right here. Give me something. Hey, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I set the mood. Just do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I set the mood. Hey, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I set the mood, baby. Next time, da-da-da-da. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Set the mood on these hits. Nice, dude.
Nice, man. Heck yeah. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Songism show, the Songism podcast. I'm here with my very first guest, Ben Whitney. Ben, tell us a little bit about what we just played, man.
Bro, hey, just want to say thank you for having me, man.
Oh, dude, hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Set the Mood, a song I've had since probably like 2017, 2018. It's something that just came to me in my living room in Atlanta, just sitting on my bed in a living room.
Nice.
Super simple chord progression. All I had was... And now it's 2023, and just been working on it since then, and finally have something that's kind of structured.
Man, sounds great. Really appreciate you being here. Appreciate you jamming on the show with us. So the mission and the goal of this show, the Songism podcast, is to feature and document the identity of the creatives and the musicians that are emerging from this artistic renaissance that's happening right now here in Charleston, South Carolina, and really all over the southeastern United States.
Beautiful.
And, you know, just wanted to use this show as a way to kind of like showcase all of the amazing people and the natural talent that's here. Because there's so much amazing stuff going on in this town and just like right now in music in general.
Yeah.
So many talented people like yourself, songwriters, singers, musicians.
Thank you, yeah.
Creatives, people that are connected to music, art, fashion in some way. And it's an amazing opportunity to be able to document that and to start with you.
Nah, man, thank you. I think you really have something good going for you right here, man. It's a great idea, and it's smart. It's nice of you to think of other people and give people the chance to not just play live in front of a crowd, but to be able to dig in and learn a little bit more. And you're a great musician yourself, so it's cool that you get to sit in, play, show your skills, and I think it's awesome of you, man.
Yeah, music right now, just in general, is digested in such a different way, even since COVID, right? Like the way that we view music and view content has changed. And the way that people hear about new music, they hear about new artists. A lot of people look at musicians like they look at professional athletes. If you're not on TV, you're not really doing it. But it's easy to miss this entire, just an entire community of people who are basically not there on TV just yet, or not there on your iPhone, or maybe on the top of your Spotify just yet, but will be.
Right.
And so I think that you're one of these people that has just an artist that just has an amazing talent for songwriting and singing.
Thank you, man.
And I'd love to kind of hear your story, kind of starting where you're from, what your hometown, and where'd you grow up, man?
Hometown was in Somerville, South Carolina. I was born in Connecticut. Most of my family lives in Connecticut, but very shortly after I was born, parents moved here to South Carolina. But Somerville is really where I was raised.
So where is Somerville in relationship to Charleston, for people that don't know?
I think it's north, no? Is it like 30 minutes north? I'm not even sure.
Inland, right?
Inland, yeah.
Because Charleston's on the coast.
Okay. Yeah, 30 minutes inland, like 30, 40 minutes. Yeah, it's where I went to elementary school, middle school, and high school. Somerville, it's growing. It used to be just like a dead town where it's like, yeah, my granddad and my dad, we all went to the same high school. Now it's got people moving in from up north because they're like, I'm trying to get to Charleston, but don't want to pay Charleston money. I just want to be close enough, and it's growing, man. It's crazy to see. I haven't been back in a while, but it's cool to see Somerville what it is now. Like, my brother's just got a house in Nexton in Somerville, and it's like, it's cool, man. It's really cool to see that.
So you have an older brother.
Yes.
That's your only sibling.
Yeah, I have a half sister as well.
And you also have a dad who was a musician, who was a badass musician.
Yeah,
so
I give a lot of my credit to that guy.
So tell me how that kind of influenced you to start doing music. Like, how did you start doing music in Somerville? And why did you really think that this was the path that you wanted to follow?
So music was just always around, and I never knew. I always just thought it was something that everybody had, because music is so like universal. Like, everyone's just like listening, or maybe I didn't know that, it's rare that a family is just very involved with music. And I never took it serious growing up. I just always kind of was like in love with music and always had it to go to and to listen to. And I grew up playing drums like my dad. My dad played drums and sang. So it was just being around somebody that's just so good at singing and playing. It just felt like I was kind of spoiled. Like, I never like looked at it like, I need to be pulling from this guy like more. And I never took it serious until I was probably like 17, like kind of getting out of how old are you in high school? Like 17-ish?
17 or 18, just about.
My senior year of high school, that's when I started taking like guitar and singing a little more serious. But growing up, it was just drums for me, just trying to get in try to take my dad's kind of like footsteps and do what he was doing. My brother played guitar, I'd play drums, we just jam. I never was singing. I always kind of hated it. I thought it was something that was just like too putting yourself out there. I don't know, it's very vulnerable. It's very hard to do as like a young person to just like want to sing, and especially in front of somebody that's pretty good in your house, and then have them look at you like, yeah, you need to stop singing. You're not that good. But no, it was very cool. My grandma was a music teacher for over like 30, 40 years in Connecticut. My uncle, bass player in the same band as my dad was playing in. Just everybody around was always playing music, talking about music, showing each other new artists and stuff like that. And definitely blessed and thankful to have that around me, because I don't know what I would be doing without, music, man, like in any way possible, whether it's like what we're doing, playing it live, or whether we're writing, or, it's nice to have something like that for sure.
It's interesting when you start playing music as a young person, even if you are just playing guitar in your bedroom or you're trying to sing in your school choir, because as a young person, you haven't even fully developed who you are. You know what I mean? You haven't even really gone through all these life experiences that kind of mold your personality, and yet you're still wide open heart. Here's who I am. I mean, if you're singing in front of people, the only more vulnerable thing is like being naked in front of people. Like you're just opening yourself up. And same thing with playing guitar on stage or anything like that. I think that it's like the most powerful thing. And I agree with you. If I didn't have music as a young kid, I would never have the confidence to even just get through the simple things in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That it builds your character.
It definitely does. Yeah. It gives you like some sort of reason, like anything when you grow up and have it in your family, or it will just give you that, like you said, confidence.
So aside from your dad, who drummer, singer, what were some other influences and inspirations to you? So who are you listening to? How did you decide guitar is going to be my instrument that's going to accompany my voice, as opposed to piano or bass or?
I like I said, I never grew up singing, man. Like I always just was like, it's not going to be my thing. Like, yeah, in the car with the family, like, sure, I'll sing some Jack Johnson or whatever it is. But I just started playing instruments. Like drums was the first thing I picked up when I was around like 6 or 7. And then got into trumpet, and once middle school came around, I was like, I want to do concert band, but I don't want to play the drums. I want to do something else. So then I played trumpet. Then I did marching band with that, like my 8th grade year. And then I was kind of figuring out like concert band. Like I also played a sport too, so it was kind of tough to play football and then the marching band. So it was like, it's not possible. You can't just go halftime, take your helmet off, and you gotta. It's just not gonna work like that. So I enjoyed it, but at the same time, sports was a little more important to me at the time, and I kind of like left trumpet behind. And there was this like open period in high school where I didn't play much music. I was just jamming on the drums, and every once in a while with my brother, we had friends over that wanted to jam. Like,
but you were listening. You loved listening to music.
Oh yeah, like music. It just was, like I said, I never took it serious. I just always knew it was there, and I had it for whether I felt bad or whether I was like just wanting to get into a new artist or new sounds, whatever. But senior year, my brother was a year older than me, so he was just graduated, and he went to the Marines boot camp. He's a basic. And I was like, I'm going to learn how to play guitar, because he always was trying to teach me. I'm like, dude, my fingers just can't do that. Look at me. Does it, like, I'm like, they're fat. Like, and then he's like, all right, whatever, I'm not going to.
Yeah, there's nothing natural about pressing your skin against metal wires to make a sound.
Yeah,
there's
like,
nothing.
This feels good.
Yeah, right, exactly. There's nothing natural about that.
You're just folding your
one of these, right?
Yeah.
You're doing this.
I was like trying to tell him, it doesn't work. And everybody's probably said that. Like anybody who's picked up guitar is just like, no, this doesn't happen. But I wrote him a letter, and I was like, I want to be able to play guitar, man. So when you come back after 3 months, I want to be able to sit down, jam with you, write music one day. I just think it'd be really cool. And that's where I went to, that summer, once I graduated, I went to Connecticut to visit the family. And I just was like locked in the basement on YouTube, Marty Schwartz, the dude teaching you how to play everything.
Of course.
That's where it kind of just like guitar started. And then that's where I paid more attention to people like Robert Cray and all the people that I was listening to growing up. James Taylor, Robert Cray, Sting, The Police. But around that time, I was into John Mayer too, because he was kind of doing his thing. And I was like, man, guitar seems like an instrument that would be just something that spoke to me more than drums for some reason. And as soon as I picked up guitar and started learning some chords, I immediately started to try to sing. It just felt natural and right, and like what I'd been missing, kind of. Drums, I couldn't get I could get the emotion out, but in a different way, like physically and not like emotionally. And like being able to write or just coming up with melodies was just something I loved, you know?
Right.
So that was, I would say the end of senior year, I was starting to take it a little more serious. And I was listening to a lot of Robert Cray, John Mayer, Jack Johnson, James Taylor. And then I tried to get into like the pop stuff too, like Shawn Mendes. I was like, you know, I would love to do something like this, you know?
So at that point, you're playing, you're learning, you're kind of trying to figure out who you are as a musician, who you are as a singer. What's your process like? Are you just throwing yourself in a room after work, closing the door and just sitting there with the guitar and writing? Or are you actively calling people and being like, yo, let's get together and make a beat, or let's jam? So what was your vibe at first trying to get that going?
It was hard at first, man, to accept that I really liked singing and like putting myself out there. It was so hard, you know, to like not only tell people, but to just like do it in front of people. And like anytime, like I'm living with my parents, so anytime the house was empty, only the dogs there, I'd like bust out my phone, take a video, and just learn this new cover. And
the dogs are like, oh fuck, here we go again.
Yeah, right. Start singing with me.
Like, oh, shit.
This guy again. But it started as filming myself and like trying to listen as like a third party kind of thing and being like, all right, it's just, you know, like not just like, whoa, I'm doing this, you know, trying to be like real in a way and be like, do I, you know, sound decent? Sure. Do I have good rhythm? Whatever the things I was looking at. And that's where it started. And as soon as I went to college, it was so hard. I kind of like didn't sing because I'm around people 24/7. I even if I was in my dorm, I'm so close to people. I was like, I don't want to be singing right now. I'm going to get judged, this and that. It was tough, to be honest.
And like you were also an athlete.
Yeah.
So you're focusing on athletics too. Yeah. You're
I was wrestling. I was wrestling in college. That's the reason why I went to college. I would have never went to college if it wasn't for a sport. I was just there so I can continue that career, and shortly figured out it just wasn't worth, to me, it wasn't worth the money that my parents were helping me for those 6 months, like literally like a semester. I just figured out like, hey, I've been just almost skipping school to learn how to play songs on YouTube and like sit in my dorm room and just like focus on this, and school meant nothing. Like I wanted to go wrestle and learn how to play more guitar. And yeah, that's where I was like, all right, after this semester, I'm going to tell my parents, like, I just want to come home and figure it out. This is just not going to, I wasn't taking it serious enough, the school. And I felt like if you're going to be in school, you need to have an end goal, and you need to like want to be learning about something and use that later in life in whatever way. You know, I was just like, sports medicine, sports, let's do it. Like it's got sports in it. Yeah. You know, I was like, this vocab is way out of my league. Like I figured it out very, very fast. I was like, yeah, I got to go.
School's for a lot of people. It's not for everybody. I mean, I encourage every single human being to definitely go through high school, graduate high school. I encourage everybody to give the college experience a shot.
Yeah.
But there's something interesting about, and I'm not just talking about music, but just being a creative, just whether you're into video, fashion, tattoos, there's just something going on when there's this structure that's implemented onto you, and it's like you have to work within the confines of this educational structure. Creative people go crazy. It's like they're like, I can't be my full self doing this. Yeah. And a lot of people leave school. Like a lot of our legends that we look up to gave it a shot or didn't even go. Right. And again, I'm not trying to discourage people from the educational journey. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's interesting to note how that tends to happen. And I think that it's important to recognize that, because a lot of people could feel very guilty, or a lot of people could feel very isolated and outcasted because they're like, dude, this school thing is just not for me.
Yeah.
It's not for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But
you had a unique experience with after high school schooling.
Sure.
Because you got to do you got to be, I don't know like exactly, but you were at Berkeley, so you got some creative, and you had to do probably some of the core stuff, you know, like you had to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was very fortunate and very kind of blessed to be where I'm from, because I only grew up, you know, a couple miles outside of New York City. So when I got into music at first, I had incredible parents that gave me the opportunity to get involved in like the best programs in New York City as a young kid playing music, and being able to see older people have a successful career playing music, writing, just having the time of their life and being a creative. I felt from a very young age that this was possible. So, you know, all throughout high school, I was at like Music Kid, and then I went to.
So you're performing throughout high school.
I was, and then I had the formal music education of going to a place like Berkeley and experiencing all that stuff, and it's something that I feel very fortunate to have, but something I don't think is also necessary for everybody. The most amazing musicians I've ever met in my life did not go to music school.
Yeah.
It's helped me going to music school to be able to play with them and kind of camouflage and chameleon myself into situations with players that were like way above my league. The
Just
best
picking things from them too, man.
Sure. The best musicians I've met to date, though, are people who didn't go through that formal training like I went through. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So, you know, we were talking about how you're an athlete, how you're involved in sports. And I always laugh because when I met you, you were an avid skateboarder.
Yeah.
You were like one of those kids that went to the skate park every day type skateboarder.
Loved skating. Yeah.
You'd be coming through with the Vans and the cargos and
ripped up shoe.
You
it's
know,
like, bro, I can give you $30 for a pair of shoes. No.
A couple months after I met you, you know, I had finally convinced you to try surfing with me.
I love you for that.
I said, dude, you're such a good skateboarder. I'd seen you play basketball. I'd seen you wrestle dogs. And I'm like, you're going to be great at this.
Oh, yeah.
And after a reluctant couple phone calls, you got out there with me on the surfboard.
Yeah, you had the extra board. You had everything. I never was like, I was always obviously close to the beach, but I never had somebody that was like, extra board, I can get you out there.
Yeah.
And I was like, you got me.
It's amazing to me because I would say 3 to 4 months after you started surfing, you had gotten so good. Like I had been surfing for years, and in a couple months, you were like neck and neck with me, just going for every wave, dude. Yeah. You didn't care if there was like a wave crashing on the shore into little kids. You were like, I'm getting that shit, dude. Like just so much confidence with your body and your movement. And, you know, I just thought that was really cool.
Thank you, man.
Do you think having that ability or that kind of athletic confidence is translated to music? Do you think that that's a skill set that somehow has bridged its way to helping you with music?
You know, I always thought it was interesting because I always was like, I put in the work, I get better. Like I work out more, I get stronger. I do footwork drills, I get quicker. And everything was so physical. And with playing guitar, like, yeah, it happened that way. Like you could put in the time and get better. But at the same time, it was a way more like emotional, like mental thing than it was physical. Like in wrestling and all the other sports, it was just like, all I got to do is go run 3 miles. I'll lose some weight. I can go like, I'll be better than my opponent kind of thing. But now I'm like trying to think about things like when it came to like songwriting and just being, you know, as an artist, you got to represent yourself. So you can't just be like anybody like, yeah, I want to beat that dude up. Like you can't be I don't know. You just got to think a little deeper when you're a musician. And that's something that I feel like music taught me was just like, now you got to use your head now. Like think about the experiences you've been through. Try to put it into music. Try to like, I don't know. It was very tough, being very physical and then going straight to like, it felt emotional, you know, being able to be in touch with your emotion and how you really feel and like what you want to say and what you want people to kind of know you for. And I don't know, like sports always just kind of was like very physical. And if I did this, I was gonna, you know, like I went hard for surfing like 3-4 months. Like that's all I watched YouTube videos of. Like I was out with you, like trying to just get better. Music just, it took time, like learning, like you can't be selfish. Like you can't, like there was just certain things that I figured out was like, you're not going to create any relationships within the music scene. Everything was like, you got to connect. You got to like relate with these people just in a nice way. You don't have to be like the yes man or whatever. You just gotta be self-aware and kind of like know who you are and be in touch with your feelings. And that was something, I guess, like that was a big change for me, like coming straight from like only physical things to like, oh, now I'm gigging for a living and like I want to be writing music and I want to be recording and I want it to seem real to the viewers and not just like this cookie cutter, like super easy to do artist kind of thing. I wanted to be real, like dig deep.
Because with sports, with athletics, with working out, you know, if you put in the work, you can get that reward. You can get that gratification of, you know, I beat this guy in a wrestling match. I caught that wave. I scored that basket, that goal. You put all this time and work into your physicality, and that's the reward and the gratification you get. With music, you can spend 5 years sitting in a room playing guitar and still fucking suck.
Mm-hmm. You could be the guy that's like, I've been playing for 15 years. It's like, you've been playing for 15 years.
Like, you know, you could go to the gym, literally work out like crazy, and eventually you're going to see some results. Oh, yeah. You can songwrite for years of your life, and I mean, it's a gamble to see that result. And you can say, you know, I'm progressing. I can see myself visually progressing, but you're right. It's such a mental thing. And sports is definitely mental too.
Right.
Music doesn't reward you until you see how it impacts somebody else. When you see your song or you're playing and somebody makes a face.
That's such a good point, man.
Right? It's like,
that did a lot for me, dude.
Yeah. A lot of people think that the best compliment that you could give somebody is, man, you're really good. But the best compliment I think you can give
the stank face. No, I'm just kidding.
Stank face, definitely. That is a huge compliment.
Like there's just a diaper somewhere in the corner.
That is a huge compliment. Yeah. I think that the one compliment that keeps guys like us going is how when people talk about how something that you did impacted them. It's not about us. Right. You know what I mean? It's about like, did I actually make something that made you feel a certain way or took you away for a second? Or if you're singing the melody to my song, that is like the best compliment ever. You don't even have to say anything. Dude. Just to hear you humming the melody to something I wrote.
Because you grew up listening to music, having that experience with the song where you're like, or whatever, a movie, whatever it is, you like live by it almost. You're like, whoa, this has changed me in a way. And to be able to write something or create something that has somebody do that same feeling back to you, it's like,
that is the biggest
reward.
Magical.
You can't even explain it. It's
there's nothing. Magical. There's literally no.
It's magic.
There's no feeling like playing music or playing your music for somebody, like you're playing in the car stereo or something, right? And you're just watching their face, just the movements in their face and what they're doing. Are they on their phone? It just that's the moment where everything comes to you. That's the reward when somebody goes, "Oh, I like that," and you're like, "Oh, thank you."
Yeah.
Or you know, it
feels so good, man.
It does.
You put a lot of, like we were saying earlier, like when you're younger, it's so hard to sing in front of somebody. It's so hard to play in front of somebody. Like, accept that this is what you're going to do. So all those years of you just like, all right, you know, I'm going to just believe in it, be confident, be 100%. And then there's somebody else that appreciates it too. You're just like, it's like a sigh of relief. Like, not that you needed that gratification or whatever, but it's nice to know that it's likable and somebody's feeling like the energy that you've put into the song or the instrumentals or whatever it is.
You know? And then in the creation of whatever the song is or the solo or the idea or the riff, it's therapeutic. It's that there's also a huge amount of reward in just the idea of playing and creating. And I encourage every single person on planet Earth to pick up an instrument and just try.
Yeah.
And at first it's going to be tough.
Yeah,
and it's going to suck.
That is true, man.
Now, like we were saying before, it is not natural to press your soft skin against metal wire and then say, I'm going to shred. Yeah. That's not natural. No. But it's challenging, and just trying it's amazing what kind of reward that could bring you. Yeah. And that's, even my dad, who doesn't really like play music, just putting a guitar in his hands and just showing him one little lick. And I mean, no offense, Dad, it sounds like trash, but just watching him figure it out there's amazing. Nothing I can give my dad that's better than that. It's like, check out this Led Zeppelin lick, or check out this Stevie Ray Vaughan lick. And then him just sitting there trying to work on it. It's just, and you could see it in him. Right. So the reward in music definitely comes from how your stuff affects people, but it also comes from the process of just getting it out. Yeah. There's things you can play and things you can sing that you'll never say in real life. Emotions and stuff you just can't translate. You know what I mean? I mean, the amount of times that I've walked away from a shitty situation, not being able to have said what I wanted to say, but then being able to pick up the instrument and just finding peace in that, even if it doesn't sound that good, even if it's just the only two chords I know, that's why we do music. Yeah. Right. So it's a combination of really those things. It's man. The side of it for us, which is the creative part. And for anybody that does art, it's the creative part. And then it's also what it means to somebody else. And I think of like, people who have these amazing tattoos on their body. Like, there's got to be something so incredible about the artist doing the actual art. It's like, this is what I do. And then now it takes on a life of its own. It means something to somebody else. And it stays with them forever. Yeah. Unless they get that shit removed. Laser.
Sometimes.
But then they got a scar forever. But you just hope that it continues to mean something for somebody else in the future. Yeah. And it takes on a life of its own. And that's the goal with music. That's the goal with releasing music. Yeah. That's why we do it. It's like you create this little child in the studio or in your bedroom, and then you put it out into the world, and then it has a life of its own. And then it becomes somebody's breakup song, or becomes somebody's wedding song, or it becomes their pump up song before a workout. And it's like, and you might never know. I mean, there's artists that are deceased. There's artists that nobody knows about who have less than 1,000 plays on Spotify, but those songs actually mean something to somebody. Yeah. That's the most powerful thing with music.
Yes, man.
So we're talking about kind of like all the amazing positive stuff about playing, even though we did acknowledge how it's challenging. Yeah. I want to take a second to ask you about what the more difficult aspects of doing music. Facing criticism. Working with people, negative show experiences, those weigh heavy. Yeah. It's sometimes you get into a situation like you'll be playing on stage and you're not feeling it. You suck. Just like a comedian bombing in front of a stadium. How, when you have those experiences, specifically you play a gig and you're just not yourself, whether it's a gig of all original music or all covers, you're not yourself, you don't sound good. Tell me, like, how do you get through that, and how do you keep going? How do you kind of push away that negative energy and that self-criticism that we have in our head because we know how good we are? Yeah. How do you get rid of that and say, I'm gonna keep going? Yeah,
dude, like what we were just talking about too, like it's so easy to see in an artist, and whatever artist it is, to see like, if they're doing it from like a really raw, really centered part of like their heart, or if it's just something they're like putting on like this from like, oh dude, like I'm handsome, I could just be a musician, people are gonna like it no matter if it's good. You can hear it, you can see it. And I feel like even on off days, if it's coming from like a real place, and you have just, the time put in, you can always just dig deep to be like, all right, I'm not looking forward to these 3 hours of this gig, but I'm definitely going to push through right now. This is something that I love doing. This is, it's something that it's very natural to me. And I need it at times. Like, I know it's not always like easy, but there's times where I'm just overdoing the music. Like, I've relied on music for a lot recently, and it's been a process, man. I'm trying to balance out like not playing as much and picking up another job, like I was talking about way earlier, you know, like it's okay as a musician to, like, I always thought, like, no, like I'm doing music, I'm 100% in there. This is how I'm gonna get there, get to where I want to be. But I didn't realize how taxing it is, like on that, what you just said. Like it hits you where you're like, am I even doing the right thing? Like,
right.
I just burned out of like what I thought was everything to me. But now I'm like, I don't really want to go play. And it never was like that. It always was like, I'm dying to go learn a song right now, whatever it is. And I think just finding a balance, and you got to go through these things. Like, all right, you know, like when you were talking about you in Berkeley, and I haven't been to any music school, but I like to compare the scene of Charleston like a music school, being able to pull from people like you, people like Chris Williams, like all these very talented people in the area, and just learn so much, man, and get better that way. So I was like, this is something I need to do. I didn't look like ahead, like, oh, I'm going to burn out. I just was like, I need to get better. Let me go gig in the area. Let me go play with the best guitarist. Let me go play with the best saxophone player, the best drummer. Show me what I need to learn. Like, if it's like I'm off time, like someone's going to be like, yo, what are you doing over there? And you just got to learn these things. Like when I first met you, man, you showed me a lot with directing a band and like being able to be comfortable in those situations and not feeling like, oh, dude, I don't know what I'm doing right now. Like just overcoming these things. And it took all that for me to realize, all right, now I need to trim back. I need to get a different job. Like I can't rely on music for money, for good energy, for friends. Like I need to make money elsewhere. That way I can have this, like restore myself and be ready to record and ready to release these emotions that I have. Because if you're out playing all the time and just overdoing it, you're gonna like plateau, and you're just gonna feel like all right, like I'm just doing the same thing over and over and over again. I'm getting it out, but like it feels good at the end. But at the same time, like, is it something that really is worth the, like maybe the money that you're getting paid, or worth the time that it's like, I don't know, man. It's been interesting to be able to balance it. And now I'm at the point where I'm like getting another job so I can have time to focus on what I really am doing music for, which is writing and like putting myself out there. And like you said, when you have that moment of like, dang, I don't feel good today, whatever it is, you come home and you write, or you didn't get to say everything you wanted to say in that conversation or relationship you had, like being able to come back to your guitar and write a song or a melody or chords about it is just like what I love about music, what I love about the guitar vocal combo. And I'm losing that with playing all these gigs.
Sure.
And it just doesn't, I don't want to come home and write when I'm doing all like these cover gigs and sitting in this room for 3 hours, just no one cares,
right,
you know?
Right. I mean, so it sounds like what you're saying is that when you do have this internal dialogue of negativity where you feel like you're not playing your best, you're not reaching your full potential as a musician, you're saying what you do is you kind of open yourself up to other people having a kind of like a good influence on you in a way. You're opening yourself up to say, hey, you know, maybe I can learn something from this person, instead of just saying like, I suck and I don't want to do this anymore. You take a breather, you think about the things that you love about the craft, or you go see a show, or you go talk to so-and-so, or you hang out with your friend who also plays music. Yeah. And it's amazing how inspired you can be and how quickly you can diminish that negative self-talk when you open yourself up. Yeah. And we're always our own worst critic. Yeah. You know? So true, man. It's really important, I think, to anyone who tries to start out playing music. It's really, really important that in those moments when it feels frustrating, because from the person who just started playing guitar yesterday to the guy who's playing guitar for 50 years, singing, songwriting, etc., we all have those moments of frustration. We all have those moments of self-doubt. Yeah. So it's really important to figure out a way where you can suppress that and channel the things that you love about what you're doing. And an example that I'll share is I was playing at the Commodore. The Commodore is a popular live music club here in Charleston. Yeah. It looks like it came straight out of the 70s. They have
really
live
did.
music bands like Wednesday through Sunday, and it's always smacking. I mean, the musicians are monsters,
dude.
Like just every day you go in there and it's just killers.
Yeah.
And
100%.
most of the vibe is cover songs, but cover songs executed in a way that's completely original and different.
Yeah.
So it's words and melodies that you're familiar with in a style that you're just like, whoa. And like I said, pound for pound musicianship, everybody who plays at a place like that, killing it. So an example that I'll say is I was playing at Commodore, and halfway through a gig when we were taking a break, the bass player was kind of giving me the cold shoulder. And this is a guy who I love and adore and who's a dear friend of mine, but he was kind of like side-eyeing me and just, I could tell he wasn't vibing with what I was doing. He wasn't really vibing with my presence on stage and in the music.
That's always an uncomfortable.
So super uncomfortable. And we all feel it. It's like you feel it right away.
Oh, yeah.
So when we took a break, I went over to him, right? And I said, hey man, what's going on? And he basically told me that what I was doing on the guitar was totally interfering with his bass lines. It was muddying up everything that he was trying to do, and he felt restricted. And so at that moment, I definitely could have taken the opportunity to say, fuck you, dude, that's how I play. Or
Just get super butthurt.
right. Or you could just get super butthurt, not say anything, walk away, and just feel like, well, you know, because like I said, this is somebody who I admire, right? A friend of mine. I could just walk away and say, well, dude, I fucking suck. Like, this is stupid.
Right.
Or you can suppress that and open yourself up.
Yeah.
And fortunately, in that moment, I was able to do that. And I listened to what he was telling me. I received the criticism and I said, hey, how can I change that? He told me, we went back on stage and we destroyed. We set the house on fire. And sometimes,
Dude, that's what it's about,
yeah,
man.
sometimes that's what you need to do, man. And it's not just about music.
Or
you know what I mean?
You know, it's not just about you, too. It's about
Well, it's usually not just about you.
being a bigger person. And
It's a team effort. Music is a team effort.
Yeah.
And I think that most things that are creative, most creative ventures, and we know this with fashion too. We had our run in fashion.
Yeah.
But it's a team effort, right?
Yeah.
And you got to try to be on the same page. Not everyone's going to start off on the same page.
Right.
Stuff's going to happen, and that negative self-talk is going to come through.
Dude, communication's key. Like,
Right.
especially as the artist, you got to be able to step outside of your body and like really learn in those
And
situations.
it's so humbling. Music is so humbling. Like I said, you can take every opportunity to be like, no, fuck you.
This
That's
is
how I
how
play.
this
It's my
is
style.
Yeah.
Or you can just like take a step back and be like, you know what? He's probably fucking right. Because when we play or we sing, play the piano, literally, it's as if we're talking. You hear your own voice back. You're like, I actually sound like that. That's how my voice sounds.
Right.
Music is the exact same way.
Right.
You know, you hear a recording of something you play back and you're like, that's how I sound.
So it's so
Right?
different than
So
the moment of
Objectively,
doing.
when somebody says something to you, especially an artist, a creative, a friend of yours, a family member, you don't just dismiss it, but take it into account because they likely have a very accurate description of what they're talking about. They're probably right, but part of doing music is rolling with those punches, right?
Yeah.
And just building, right? You kind of got to be open. You cannot be defensive to do music.
Yes.
And I think that that's one of the foundational things that stops people from pursuing music is that they get very defensive, whether it's defensive about themselves or defensive about how other people might view them. You cannot be. You literally have to be a sponge.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you just
you're right.
accept
You're very right,
You just
bro.
accept everything and you absorb it all, and then you use that to fuel whatever thing is going to come out of you next. Right? So
That's a big, very important thing with
Big
becoming, if you want to grow as a musician, if you want to meet the right people, you'll limit yourself if you're not being open, man. Like if one person finds out that you're like, oh, I told him like, hey dude, you're a little over like my baseline, and he just shut down and like couldn't even take it, the next person's going to hear that and be like, well, I'm not going to even try to help him out.
Right.
You want everybody to give you, like, your experience through finding music is so different than mine. And I'm wanting to learn as much as I can from something like that to add to my game
Right.
and make me better. And I hope to do the same with the other person.
If there is something that I think that most people don't understand about bands, is that bands, and when I say bands, I'm also talking about people who are individual artists with support behind them. That is a marriage. That is a marriage, and it's a company. So not only are those your coworkers and your equals in terms of a company, you are literally married to them.
Yeah.
And that can be tough.
Oh yeah.
Right? That comes with, chemistry going in and out. That comes with financial issues. That comes with all these things, right?
Yeah.
So, being able to navigate the band setting, being able to deal with those kind of things, those are skills that are always in the works. You're always trying to refine that kind of stuff. It's not easy.
No.
You go up on stage with your homies, even if it's like the high school talent show, it is like the greatest feeling ever, but it's everything leading up to that. The arguments that you had in your mom's basement or afterward, it's all of that kind of stuff. And dude, that goes all the way up to the top.
Yeah, man.
To the people who are playing at Madison Square Garden. You go buy a ticket to see a band who sells at Madison Square Garden. Dude, that is a marriage. They're a company. And they've worked really hard to kind of create that product and that chemistry.
They've all agreed on probably a few things to make it run smoothly and, not overstep any boundaries. And that's hard to do sometimes. Like you were saying, it's the one person might not take the criticism that well. See ya.
So for you, you were talking about gigging and how taxing gigging can be on you.
Yeah.
You're somebody who plays a lot of gigs locally in Charleston. I think that what a lot of people don't realize about this like artistic mecca that is Charleston, that is a hidden gem a lot of people are sleeping on. But what a lot of people don't realize is that there's a plethora of opportunities to play. There's all kinds of bars, restaurants, venues that host live music nearly 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So for you as somebody who's actively playing as both a solo artist, you're writing, you're in the studio, and you're playing with bands at all kinds of venues, how do you prepare physically for that, right? So you're waking up on Monday morning, you have your calendar's worth of gigs coming up, studio sessions. What are the things that you do to feel like you're prepped for that week or those gigs?
One thing, I don't know if it's because I grew up wrestling, but like going for a run is like my go-to. If I have something important that day.
So
like
exercise,
man. Like, and specifically either yoga or a run. Just to like get my lungs opened up, get my like mind off of whatever I'm thinking about way too hard and just sweat it out. Like my coach used to be like, hey, sweat it out.
Sweat it out.
Just sweat it out. And that's something that I still do, man. That's like huge for me. Whether if I got to sing at like 10 in the morning, I got to be out like 2 to 3 hours before just so I can get a nice sweat in, something.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
There's something about like just dripping sweat and just struggling for an hour or so that makes the music part so much easier.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. I mean, I'm sure that
if you just woke up and your bones are like aching and you got to go deliver musically, it's so hard. Yeah, and it doesn't feel good. Right. It doesn't feel right. Yeah, at the very end, you're going to feel like, now I feel good in a way. But if you can be prepared for the first song, that's always,
You're so right. I mean, I try to not be that asshole friend that encourages my friends to go exercise because nobody wants to have that fucking friend.
Right.
But
hey, dude, you should go for a run.
Yeah, you should go for a run this morning.
Am I tubby right now?
Nobody wants to hear that. Yeah. It's crazy though, it personally how it makes me feel. I can't speak to other people, but getting some exercise in, whether it is skateboarding or surfing, whether
seriously.
It is going to the
basketball,
gym,
man. Yeah, anything.
Going to the gym and staring at yourself in the mirror while you do curls, sure, if that's your thing, dude. Just something about that struggle. It makes the music so much easier. There's something called gig stamina, which I didn't really know about until I started playing gigs all the time. So
yes, sir.
A touring band, right? Like a huge touring artist, their time that they play standard is an hour and a half. So you have an opener who's somewhere between 15 to 45 minutes, maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Your average touring band, and I'm including everybody from like touring indie bands to the freaking Rolling Stones. The average concert time that they're playing is about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
For us, playing local gigs in Charleston, we have an average time of about 3 hours. So, you got to build like this internal stamina to get through it. You want to be your best the whole 3 hours, and you want to be able to wake up and do it again the next day. You also want to be able to talk to people. You also want to be able to maybe have a beer with somebody who threw a little change in your tip jar.
You want to connect. Like if there's somebody that's like in love with what you're doing or was like, wanting to chat about it, you got to be like,
you got to be present. You got to be present and have the energy to kind of be yourself. So I totally agree with you. Help me, using exercise as a way to help you prepare to better yourself as an artist, as a musician, as a creative. It's like, if I could advise anyone to do anything, it would be that.
Yeah. I really don't have, I need to be a little more organized with like a calendar. Like I just throw it in my Apple, like my freaking phone calendar. I'm just like this to tomorrow, this week, blah, blah, blah. I do need to like write out more, I feel like, about like what I'm doing and what I need to do on that gig or for that recording or for that rehearsal. Like I have a rehearsal tomorrow night with bass player and a keyboard player for my show on the 19th. And I need to be a little more prepared. Like running is great, like I'll feel like physically good for it, but I need to be like, I have thoughts that I want to do up here. Like, hey, let's work on this intro to set the mood and these breakdowns on weekends. And I need to be a little more organized.
Sure.
Alan that plays bass with me, he's very good at that. Like always has like everything written out for what we're doing. But like I don't want to say I'm the band leader, but like I want to act that way, because everybody does their own part. But I need to be a little more strict on coming with a, like not an itinerary, but like something to say like, let's get these points let's focus on these points today and not just like run around up here and be like, only maybe get one because it's only up here, not written down. Like that's something I need to do more to focus and prepare for the gigs. Not so much like that's like clockwork at this point. Like,
sure.
It's just becoming,
sure.
Yeah. But like rehearsals and shows, you want to be more prepared.
So aside from your kind of local lineup of gigs and studio sessions in the future, like what is your plan in the next year? You have an amazing catalog of music that hasn't been professionally recorded to the level that you'd like.
Right.
So aside from getting in the studio and getting that, I guess what they would say is on wax, even though we don't record to vinyl anymore. Aside from those plans, what are you trying to do in this next year as a musician, as an artist? Where are you trying to get to?
It's a good question, man, because I've been just like kind of circling for the past couple of years, just going back and forth, going around and around of like doing the same thing. And
which is what?
Which is just gigging a lot, man, and not focusing on like gigging is great. It makes you money. You can pay the bills. Yeah, but I'm looking for like that feeling of showing somebody the music, so they can, like we were talking about earlier, where they can feel what you're feeling, and maybe you can grow relationships that way. I don't know. So my goal is this year, man, is to travel more with it. Take a week out in California and meet up with some people that I know, and maybe visit Nashville for the first time and spend the weekend there and just see what other scenes are like. Maybe meet as many people as I can. Obviously, that's just like a thing I do, like shake hands, fist bump somebody, whatever it is, say hey. But I'm definitely looking to take the original side of things more serious this year. I've been rehearsing with the band and only got 2 demos at the moment, but that's something that just I've recently really figured out that is very important to me. Like I need that. I can't be doing what I'm doing for much longer, or else I'm just gonna go work a totally different job and never play music again, kind of thing.
Right. You want to do everything you can and not get burnt out.
Yes.
And not feel like you've exhausted all of your effort and energy. You want to be selective about where you're putting your effort and your energy, but also making sure that you're maximizing your time.
Yeah.
So as an artist, it's like so important to document what you're doing. It's on your phone even. if it's on a voice memo, an Instagram video, but ideally like the pinnacle of documenting what you're doing as a musician and as an artist is recording and then taking your thing to other places and showing other cities and other scenes what you have going on.
Right.
That's literally the paralleled goal across all artists and musicians is to basically do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's simple. It's not easy at all.
Right.
Simple is not easy, but that makes a lot of sense that that's kind of the direction that you're headed.
I feel like I've been building up confidence, like with the stage presence, with being able to comfortably work with a band. Like I was telling you earlier, like, thank you seriously for helping me with that, man.
For sure.
Yeah. And that's played a big role in like being able to just get up there and play and not be like stressing about anything, you know. I really appreciate it. But yeah, that it's something that I really want to do this year, man. Like I'm finally confident enough. I never had the confidence, I feel like a couple of years back, to take what I was doing here and go somewhere else and play and like promote my original music. But it feels right now. And like I feel like I'm meeting the right people that are like shaping me into like, all right, dude, you need to be doing something different than just going and playing in the corner of a bar every night. You know, you need to take yourself a little more seriously.
Yeah, and you got a lot of people believing in you because you're great.
Thank you, man.
So you got a lot of support. You got a lot of community support and a lot of people that want to see you succeed.
It's good to have that around, dude. Because if I didn't, you know, it's so easy to just stay doing what you're doing. You know, even, you know, I could be like, I'm a professional musician. I get paid and this and that. And it's like, you know, some people, this is great. Like you can be doing this, and it is fun. It's a big step in a musical career to be able to get paid to play music. Like you've got to be pretty good to do that, you know? I think just the writing and the releasing and like creating is so much more important to me now. Like I'm figuring that out. And this year I want to have an album. I want to have an album recorded. It might not be released, but I want to have an album's worth of work recorded. That way when I am traveling to that week in California or Nashville or wherever I'm going, I can have something to talk about, have something to promote, play, show. That something I can't just go out there empty-handed and like saying, hey, check out my Instagram, right. Like follow me, hard. And I promise you.
It's so hard to go off of the faith that you're good. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, all right, well, tell us, man, where can we see you play, bro? Where are you playing at? If you want the people to come out and see you.
So, people, the most important gig to me right now coming up is March 19th. At the Poorhouse inside stage. I'm opening up for Cass Haley. This is a guy that he did America's Got Talent, I don't know, 10 or so years ago, maybe 15. And my whole family was sitting there watching this audition, and we fell in love. He ended up getting like second on the show. Like we jammed to this man's album that he released in like 2005 or something like that. And it's been a family thing where we just love Cass Haley, and I have the opportunity. It's so cool how this worked out. Leighton Meacham, a fellow musician that we know, he opened up for him before at Poorhouse, and I'm good friends with Leighton, and Leighton couldn't make it this time. So Leighton was like, hey, what about Ben? You know, Ben might be a good idea. And I was just like shitting my pants, like this is not happening. Like I grew up listening to this guy, and now I'm going to be able to share a stage with him at the Poorhouse. And that is something that I'm super stoked for. So
yeah, I'm pumped,
anybody
man.
wants to, you need to come out.
I will be there.
I'm super excited.
Yeah, dude, I'm pumped for that. And you know, where can the people find you on the social media if they wanted to follow you?
I just started like talking shit about catch me on Instagram, but like that's basically that is my platform at the moment.
Sure. So what's your Instagram handle?
My Instagram is Ben Whitney Music.
Ben Whitney Music.
Yeah.
On Instagram.
On Instagram.
And you got some dope videos up there of you doing your thing.
Yeah, I got everything from just a little cover in the corner of my house to you sitting in with you at Commodore, the place we were talking about, playing waterfalls, to interesting things I did out in California with my buddy Kenny, who filmed a bunch of like on a Ferris wheel, like doing a cover on that. But yeah, I need to be a little more consistent with the posting, man. Like I was saying, that the period of me just like getting better, I didn't document that much, you know, in the area of gigging. Like I was just like, nobody wants to keep seeing the same thing over and over and over again. But I I would say you could follow me on Spotify as well, Ben Whitney. But all my stuff is from 2016, and it was like a trial run of how to record, write, sing in a studio. And
hey, it's always like that.
Yeah, so I mean, if anybody wants to check that out, they can, to see the growth, you know.
It's always like that, man. So
yeah.
Listeners, if you guys want to check out Ben, you can find him on Instagram, Ben Whitney Music. Also get hip to this new music that's coming out soon. That'll be on Spotify. It'll probably definitely be on all the other streaming platforms. Right. It's going to be amazing. What kind of style of music, or like what would you tell people if they were going to ask how the vibe's going to be?
I'm really trying to I want it to be modern in a pop way, but I really want it to capture all the old sounds that I grew up listening to, like Robert Cray and soul and blues, and I want it to be just soul, blues, and pop, and all formed into one kind of sound.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on here
thank you, man. This
jamming
is awesome.
out and sharing your story with us.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for listening to the Songism podcast. My name is Noah Jessup, and I hope to do this many more times with you.
Yeah, man.
And the plethora of artists and creatives that we have here. I want to thank Soulshine Studios for letting us broadcast here. I also want to thank Dries and his production team for doing some amazing audio and video. Thank you guys for listening.